So let's head to the outside because there's a ton of stuff to cover out there. First thing you notice, the retaining walls have been poured for the outside. We're gonna allow for LED lighting along this channels here. Nicely landscaped front yard. You can tell just where the property line stops. It's a bit different on this case because the retaining wall is set so far back you think, oh, you mean this doesn't belong to the property? Well, on this street, it doesn't. But have a look over here. In all the last houses I've built, we've always created a nice little pocket in the front of the house. Now the reason I have this pocket here is I want to put the gas meter located in the front. So you don't have to have the gas guy come into your yard and check the meter every so often and come back out. He can just walk along the sidewalk, do his meter readings here, and move on, giving the owner a bit more privacy. And you know what? I'm sure the gas guy will appreciate it too, in case he has a dog, right? You never know. The front of the house is split up into 2 entrances. This has been set for the downstairs tenant and that's for the upstairs. So along this wall, we're gonna have a little bit of a separation to give a bit more focus on where the tenant's walking. The sides of the house has been backfilled with a nice thick layer of sand. Below the sand, you have all the conduits and all the caution tapes for any utilities that run towards the front of the house. Now, several episodes back, we showed an example of how the shrouds are made to protect any kind of projections or penetrations from the inside of the house. These are all prepared way in advance. Every one of these shrouds represents a penetration coming out. The reason why we have the shrouds is, one, is to protect these penetrations from being dented or damaged. And second of all, they may not be the same size. So one, you may have a bigger, smaller. By creating a similar size shroud, it kind of standardizes what you see across the side of the house. And you know what? It just looks awesome. And also, just before we clad this wall, I want to show you the metal bug screen we use. Everything's nice and level, provides a perfect base for when the cladding's gonna go on top. This material will never rip. There have been other products used in the past where they're just nylon bug screens. This is definitely the way to go. You can also see how this flashing corners down and continues right across. Seamless finish. So similar to the other side of the house, this side is also ready for cladding. And I want to re-emphasize something we've covered in the past. The number of penetrations coming out of the concrete areas versus the wood framed areas. Here we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Have a look at the wall. Nice and clean, okay? This wall is going to be panelized and or cladded with siding. Can you imagine if all of a sudden you see 6 penetrations coming out from random areas? Absolutely terrible. This way, it's all kept under the wood framed areas. It's all well sealed, airtight. There's protection around the penetrations. And you can ask the siding guy, any siding guy, nobody wants to work around penetrations because they got to stop, cut all their materials, make sure everything's all perfectly tight, and then carry on. How much time does that take? And how awful does that look when you look at a beautiful wall like this compared to a wall cladded? You're gonna have a look at the ground. You can see this sand everywhere on this job site. We delivered 3 loads of sand via slinger for many reasons. 1, sand is very easy to work with. 2, we have a lot of underground utilities and conduits that gotta be buried with sand and sand only. Take, for example, this area here, this trench, freshly sprayed with sand, easy to move, meets code, looks clean. This back area is perfect for any future landscaping. Sand is a great material and it provides for great drainage. You see the retaining walls are nicely placed. Here's a nice division of the front yard, backyard. And with now the house being nice and cleaned up, with boarding, is ready for cladding. We even have work on the upper deck with the pavers being installed at the moment. We can start moving on our attention to the laneway house. So similar to the main house, in the same sequence as well, the laneway house is being roughed in. I would say half of it has been done. The plumbing's been done, the radiant floor heating's been done, the HVAC is underway. All the ceilings were spray foamed ahead of time to allow for a clean assembly, a clean installation of HVAC. Ceilings are dropped accordingly. I believe the low voltage guy has started already, waiting for some sprinkler work to take place in here, an electrician to finish up, and we'll be well underway getting the laneway house insulated and drywalled, just on a smaller scale, but it'll be sequenced basically back to back with the rate of completion for the drywall in the main house. It'll transition nicely right to the laneway house, back to back. A little taste of how this area will look once the drywall is in place. The drywall boarding has been installed. As you can see, nothing's taped yet, but it's a good idea of how it looks now once the framing and insulation has been covered up. Let's have a look at what goes on underneath the drywall on the secondary suite side. So anytime you have a secondary suite in the city of Vancouver, they require you to separate the upstairs with soundbars and double layer of 5/8 Type-X. You can see here the sound bars are placed perpendicular to the framing. The layers of the drywall are layered over top of this. And to give you an idea how it looks on the ceiling, this is one layer of 5/8 already over top of the sound bar, which is traveling perpendicular to the TGIs.